my name is Allie Schmidt. This is my dad, Dan. He owns Caitlin's Glass.
Thanks, Allie. Things like doors and windows go into making a house. But when it's your home, you expect more, like the great service and selection you'll get from Caitlin's Glass. Vinyl replacement windows from Caitlin's come with a lifetime warranty, including accidental glass breakage replacement. Also ask for custom shower doors and many other products and services. Call 962-1636. Locally owned with local employees for nearly 30 years.
Caitlin's Glass, the clear choice.
Welcome to the BeTempered Podcast, where we explore the art of finding balance in a chaotic world.
Join us as we delve into insightful conversations, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you navigate life's ups and downs with grace and resilience.
We're your host, Dan Schmidt and
Ben Spahr.
Let's embark on a journey to live our best lives.
This is BeTempered.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the BeTempered Podcast, episode number
57.
57. I feel like we just did 56.
It's like a minute ago.
Hey, today we're honored to sit down with a man whose life is a living testimony to the idea that service is leadership, and that impact starts right where you are. Carl Rhinehart III is a husband, a father, a mentor, educator, and community builder. A proud graduate of Earlham College with a degree in business and nonprofit management and an MBA to match. Carl has called Richmond, Indiana home since 1999. But more than just planting roots here, Carl has poured into his community with a servant's heart and a vision for change. From his early work in behavioral mental health with youth and families to his current role as career and technical education teacher at Richmond High School, Carl has always believed in lifting others up, especially the next generation. He co-founded Future Achievers, a nonprofit dedicated to empowering local youth with the tools, knowledge, and opportunities they need to thrive. He also created CARE, Child and Adult Resource and Education, to help families overcome systematic challenges and stay connected. Whether he's serving on the board of NatCo Credit Union, working as the Chief Doing Officer of the Wayne County Cares, or opening the doors at Oak Park Pentecostals, where he leads the First Impressions team and Emergency Warming Center, Carl lives by one simple but powerful belief: everyone deserves the opportunity to be their best self. Carl doesn't just talk about change, he builds it. One relationship, one program, one purpose-filled step at a time. Carl, welcome to the BeTempered Podcast.
Man, appreciate it, Dan. Appreciate it. Happy to be here. Honored.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day and out of your summer vacation. You know, you've got your daughter over there joining us and checking in on you, but we appreciate you taking the time to come in and share your story because I know it's a powerful one.
Oh, man, my pleasure. My pleasure. I just, hope and pray. Yeah, absolutely. That it has an effect, on somebody it benefits somebody. That's the point of it all, man.
For sure. Well, you know how we do this. We start every podcast learning about childhood, where you grew up. So where did you grow up?
Grew up in Muncie, Indiana. So, and before I get too deep, man, I want to give honor to God, for this opportunity. This is a tremendous blessing for me. I believe this podcast is a tremendous blessing for our community and for everyone that gets to hear it. I have just been just overjoyed every time I plug into another episode, whether I'm cutting grass or I'm at the gym. I'm listening to the podcast and hearing these stories, and I believe that this is exactly what people need to hear at this particular time. And so to see you all doing this work, and just to hear the stories of faith and from people that we know, but we don't always get to have this conversation. And just even, coming in here this morning and hearing a little bit of folks' backgrounds, man, it's powerful to see God moving. And that's the only reason why I'm sitting in this chair. That's the only reason why am able to do what I do is because of God's grace. And so, any takeaway from today, I want people to know that, man, God's grace is enough.
Amen.
For sure. Yeah. Amen to that. And thank you for saying that. That's our whole goal, is to share these stories because, we just did an interview here prior to you showing up, and a lot of people have been through a fire. right? And that's kind of the whole premise of Be Tempered. But it's amazing to me how almost every person that we interview chooses to go into the fire, which is amazing because, a lot of people are afraid of failure. They're afraid of, what's this person going to think of me? But once they go through those challenges and those obstacles that come up in their life and they get through them, they're so much stronger for it.
Absolutely.
So appreciate you saying that. So back to Muncie, Indiana.
Yep. Muncie, Indiana. Yeah, grew up there, born and raised, graduated Muncie Central High School, proud Bearcat, class of 1999. Grew up with, both parents, period of time that my dad wasn't in the home for a little bit. One of 6 kids from my family, so we got a baby of the group. So that might show itself at some point. Some of those characteristics of being the youngest in the family. But man, I as I reflect back, a lot of good times. There were some struggles there, for sure. Just like, anybody, dealt with some dysfunction in the home. My dad struggled, with alcohol and drugs. And so, again, there's a period of time he wasn't around for a little bit. Abuse, in the home, domestic violence, those type of things, have seen coming up. But with that, there's a lot of good, and there was a lot of love, as well too. And again, man, just by the grace of God, and as you say, running, people that run to the fire. And I was thinking, as you were saying that's not always easy. And just because people are going to the fire, that doesn't mean they necessarily want to, either. I think for some people, or at least for me, it just came to a situation where there was just no other way to go. I mean, turning back and going the opposite direction just really wasn't an option. Didn't seem like the right thing to do. So it's to push forward. And I would say too, growing up, I've been blessed to be able to see both sides, right? And so I saw the struggles of my dad and others, in the community or in my family, and some of the things that they struggled with. But then also had a lot of, my mother is still a great woman of faith. My grandmothers, great women of faith, prayed often and over us. I remember my mom coming in, at night and praying over me as a child, making sure that I went to church every Sunday. That was just, there was no negotiation about that. This is what you're going to do. So, for me coming up, I always had both vantage points, right? I always, and just like all of us, but for me especially, God allows us to choose, and so it wasn't always the straight and narrow for me. I, went to the right a little bit, went to the left, and then came back. But again, because of the grace of God and just his goodness, I mean, here I am today, and I've got people that, read beautiful intros and bios like you did for me and have gotten some accolades, but it's not me, it's all him. So, but
yeah, that's amazing, because you're right. There's a lot of people that when they grow up, they've got this guy on this side of their shoulder and this guy on this side of their shoulder, and they've got a choice to make, right? And nobody's perfect, right? We all make mistakes, and you learn from those mistakes, like you said, and a lot of times you learn from other people's mistakes, and maybe those are family members, and maybe those are friends, maybe that's you.
Absolutely.
And so, thank you for sharing that about your family. So you kind of go through childhood. Talk about high school a little bit, because sports became something for you that was impactful, right?
Yeah. I played football ever since middle school. I'd say too that the young years, I mean, were trying times. I don't remember a lot of it, and I don't know if that's trauma related and just trying to repress some stuff. I don't know if it's 19, 20-year-old activities, kind of taking over and clouding some things. But a lot of my memories are just flashes, moments in times, little things here and there. But, one of the things I do remember is just, growing up for sure, I just was not sure of myself, really who I was or what I was doing. Didn't have a lot of confidence. I was always a big guy. I was a big kid. Man, I was too big to play Pop Warner, which was our Pee Wee football, his hub here. But, so I remember vividly, I as a kid in the barbershop, that's where I grew up. My dad worked there. My grandparents started it. And I remember my dad made me call the YMCA to see if I could sign up for Pop Warner. So I used the payphone in the corner and called myself. I'm elementary school. I don't even know what age, but young. And I remember they asked me how much I weighed. And I told them, and they said, nah, you can't play. You're too big. They said you might fall on somebody and hurt them. So, other guys that I came up playing with, they got to play, but I didn't. I had to wait till middle school. So, started in middle school. Man, had a great time, enjoyed it. In the sense that, middle school, we were very successful. So I can proudly say Northside Titans, our 7th grade year, we went undefeated and unscored on.
Oh, wow.
And then 8th grade year, we came back and went undefeated.
Wow.
And then I some years back here, I was at the high school. I think it's 21. I made it to the middle school, and they've got a football that has that commemorated on it in a trophy case. There in the lobby. So that was kind of cool.
That's really cool.
So,
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Do you remember when you made that phone? You obviously remember making the phone call. Mm-hmm. Do you remember how it made you feel?
Oh man, just less than. And just because I didn't know my size. I didn't pay any attention or realize. Man, I just ate. I guess what was there. And I remember. Pleading with him on the phone, like, hey, okay, like, please let me play. I can lose the weight. I'll lose the weight. But they were like, nah. The other thing, and that I think that's important to my story, is that I started out playing football because my dad played. And so my dad played high school football. He, I think, played a year of college at Ball State, but didn't finish, or at least attended, but didn't finish. But I remember hearing his football stories all the time. And guys would come in the barbershop, man, and he'd be telling these stories, and they would co-sign him and talk just about how mean he was. And I remember watching football games with my dad, and it was like he was in the game. I mean, next thing you know, he'd jump up and he's going through different moves, and here, this is how you forearm shiver. This is what you got. He's punching walls and all kind of stuff. I'm like, what the heck? So he was, he was into it, and I had the size, right? And so I was big. So I'm like, shoot, you got to do something, and I'm from the type of family, you ain't gonna just sit around, and do nothing. So, put this size to good use. And so football was it. So, but yeah, so I think, it set me back a little bit, because I wasn't 100% set on it at first. I was just kind of again. I mean, this is, had never played, Pop Warner, and then going into middle school. And then I hear this from somebody, and then, the pressure of my dad and feeling like I'm letting him down if I don't get to play, if I'm not able to play, and kind of what that means. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we coach youth sports, and so many kids, well, even if you watch the high school kids, lack confidence, and I can't imagine being a kid making a phone call to, I think I want to play football because my dad did. And then they'd say, no, you're too big, and how that would make you feel and what that would do to your confidence. But sounds like you were able to persevere through that. And then you guys kick some butt in middle school. And so you get through middle school. Were there any coaches along the way there that really helped to influence you?
Oh man,
in those young years? You
would say that. Oh man. Coach Frank was our middle school coach, and I can almost see him. He passed away, I believe. And man, but this is just, and I don't even know how old Coach was when we played, man. But this guy was just tall and stocky and just well put together, man. But he was a great guy. And our assistant coach, I want to say Springer comes to mind. Somebody's gonna have to fact check me on this, but Springer is what's coming to mind. I hope that's his name. Apologize for forgetting, but again, just two great guys. I mean, that really, I think, really encouraged us and had great attitudes on the field, and were just great guys, to be around. And One thing I'll say too, you mentioned players lacking confidence. I came from up in a time or from, I realize now that some of what I experienced, the negative I experienced, I was such that, like, for my dad, for instance, I mean, he didn't grow up the greatest either, and so some of what probably I received or some of what kids are receiving is what's been passed down. And so I've learned this over the years. And I even ask, kids that I work with now, or tell them this when I work with them now, like, hey, if you feel like your parents or somebody in your life, an adult, is mistreating you or disrespecting you or being mean to you, can you imagine like what their childhood was like? Who was there for them? Who loved on them? I remember, things like, my dad, saying coming up, when he was a kid, like nobody ever told him they loved him, and so that, and to hear him when he said that, like you can look at his face and you can see the pain or the struggle of what that, going through, you don't realize it, but later on in life, you're like, man, that would have really meant something. If, I never got that. And so I think that's important for us to remember. And I think too, with that, we have to speak life, to people. And I'm learning this, with my own kids and with my daughter who's sitting outside the studio. And I've got two boys behind her, but I have to get better at speaking life to them, encouraging them as they struggle and at 7 years old, having a hard time, instead of saying all the time, why don't you do this right? Why couldn't you do that right? Why you're upsetting me? You're hurting me. You're this, you're that. Man, I got to change it and say, hey, why are you doing this? Because you're better than this. You're a leader. You're important. You're loved. You're not supposed to behave, in this. I know you can do better. I'm proud of you. I want to see, we're going to have a great day today, and sometimes I think that takes energy.
Yeah.
To do. You have to, and in the classroom, I've experienced this as well too. Like that takes effort, and energy that sometimes we don't feel like we have it to give, right? And then again, thinking back, and I'm thinking of a whole generation of people who just came up the hard way, came up in hard times, and you're working a job trying to make ends meet. Ends aren't quite meeting. You've got these other struggles. You've got habits that you're dealing with. You just have life bearing down on you, and you need, or these souls in your home need this positivity from you, and you feel like you don't have it to give. There's just so much stress. There's your childhood trauma that you never overcame. That's affecting you as well too. And so unfortunately at that moment, you don't really have it to give. And so for me, and I'll come back to this probably later, but that's where grace, comes in. And for me, that's what I've learned, is to extend this grace to people, to say, hey, I get it. And we're not excusing it or saying that it's okay, but we're saying that, man, I understand, and I can empathize, with it as well too.
Yeah. So important. And I think not only when you change how you say things to kids, but I think it's very important to be intentional.
Absolutely.
In how you say it. Don't just be encouraging, like truly mean it. Like look them in the eyes and say, hey, you were born to do something great.
Yeah. So
what are you going to do today to help to get you to where I know you can go?
Yeah.
And be intentional when you say that, because the kids are watching. If you're saying that while you're looking on your phone, that's not being intentional, right? So I think that's important for all parents, for all leaders, for all coaches, anybody out there working with our youth, and even as adults.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, we all struggle. Yeah. We have good days and bad days, and so it's important to have those conversations and be encouraging. So that's a great message, man.
Absolutely.
For sure. So you're in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about high school a little bit.
Yeah, high school again, one of those, but man, I just flashes here and there of high school, unfortunately. Struggled, I think, again, with confidence issues, size. And I grew up in a strict home as well, so I didn't get to do a lot of things that other students, other young people got to do. My friends got to do, they go to parties or they'd hang out, at night and things like that. And that just was not happening in the Rhinehart home. That kind of stuff was not allowed. So I was a little, disconnected. School, though, was my safe space. School was, although I didn't lock in on the books like I should have and could have, school is where I felt safe. Home was not it, unfortunately. And so, and even definitely like in elementary school years, and I couldn't wait to get to school to be able to get away from and just get a break from some of the drama that was going on outside. But, looking back, it's funny, I was thinking about this, some years back, I came across my yearbook from high school, my senior yearbook, and I was looking through the pages, man. And then, back then, we used to have, our friends and everything sign our yearbook, and they, and I'm looking, man, and I'm like, man, I had quite a few signatures, in this thing, and messages and girls' phone numbers. And funny story. I remember one time, I think I looked, and I was wondering, like, I wonder if she still got this number. Like, oh, shit. But, so looking back again, even though I didn't realize it in the moment, I could, it was there, I had people, that cared about me and friends and especially on the football team and guys that, I played with and cool to this day. If I was to see them, we don't keep in touch, but if I was to see them, I know right now we'd shake up and embrace and how you doing? How's the family? This, that, and the other. And that's, that's awesome. We didn't win as much on the field, as we had hoped to, and again, football, although it was tough for me again because I still played for my dad. It was a lot of him kind of pushing and talking it up, and so that's why I was really there. I hated football practice. With a passion. I didn't like the sweat. So why are you playing a sport and you don't like the sweat, right? But nah, man, I just did not like that, right? It just got on my nerves. It was a pain. And so, but what I've learned through this and is about attitude and about how you approach things and about your thoughts and how it has and the power that it has. And since then, I've learned to overcome that and to change my thinking and to change my attitude. Because what I didn't know either, I didn't know really how good I was or how good I could be as well, too. And this question kind of got posed to me. And I said the reason why is because sometimes, in the same breath or in the same conversation, I would get talked up, but kind of getting torn down at the same time. And so, and I can see that, with kids and with my kids, as well, too. Again, how are you talking to them and being intentional? Like, what is your purpose? If I'm trying to build you up, then let me build you up and let that be the conversation. But oftentimes I felt like we would have games and we didn't win, but during the game or at a halftime or right at the end, my dad would come in, hey, man, did a great job, man. Y'all have lost, but man, you played hard. You did great. Blah, blah, blah. Well, then by the time we get home, and unfortunately, he had a few more drinks, then it was, man, he'd talk about the loss and how bad that was. And I would just remember just sitting there, they're standing, actually, he's sitting down, I'm standing there and I'm listening to this and I'm in my head, I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? Did I do good or did I not? Was this a good experience or was it not? Like, I'm so confused right now. And so that was hard, but again, he tried. He would, man, I think about the movie Rocky. Love that movie. It's one of the greatest ever, inspirational movies. And I felt like Rocky sometimes when my dad would wake me up at 6 o'clock in the morning and be like, let's go, we're going for a run. And I'm like, what? Like, it's 6 a.m. I don't want to go for a run. Like, I don't want to run. Like, I don't like running. Like, but he, he'd get me up and man, and again, there was moments, he would try. But yeah. And so the confidence issue was a challenge, for me, in high school, but definitely some good times. Should have got involved in more things, than what I did. I played in the band. Played saxophone and was pretty decent there. Again, could have been better, but just didn't really know, how good I was in the moment. And that right coaching and training and opportunities, are key as well too. And so, felt like sometimes didn't quite have enough of that to really help me to really lock in and devote myself like I should have.
Well, I think you made an important point there that I don't even know that you made, where you talked about, how you'd come off the field and your dad would praise you and tell you how good you did. And then, you get home after you had a couple of drinks and it would switch. I hope that there's parents out there, because again, we coach youth sports and we see it, where you can tell if the kid has struggled during the game or we lost. The first thing the parent's doing is, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Why'd you make that pass? Why didn't you shoot this or do that? Or what'd coach tell you to do here? What? You don't need any of that. Yeah. Just be encouraging to those kids. In our case, we're talking about fourth graders.
Yeah.
We're talking about fifth graders, sixth graders. These kids just want to have fun.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay to push them and to try to encourage them to be better and show them how to work and to do things. But man, after the game, just be encouraging. Hey, you did a great job. I'm proud of you. Can't wait to see what you do next week.
Yeah.
And so that's important, because it's conflicting, right? And that's where, again, confidence is a huge thing for these young kids. And look at where your confidence was. And if it would have been different, if that second half of your dad wouldn't have came out and said, started questioning things, maybe you'd have pushed a little harder. Maybe, you could have been more than what you were. Mm-hmm. So that's an important point.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. And I think the intentionality of things, so if you want them to be better, provide those, try to provide those opportunities, be there for them, as well. A lot, for me, a lot I did on my own, and that's a good thing. I mean, you want to teach your kids to be independent. You want to teach them to be responsible. You want to teach them how to communicate, but, making that phone call, as an elementary school student, elementary age, and having to navigate those emotions, on my own. I signed up for camps, after that, on my own, whereas, other kids were going to these big name camps. They knew about them. I went to the local camps. I went to the free camps, because that's what our means would allow us, to afford, or that's all I knew about. I didn't have transport. I couldn't get to, and Dad worked. I mean, Dad worked. He was a barber. My childhood, worked in a factory before that, and so so he had his responsibilities. But I mean, for him to answer, I guess really, could he have done more, could have done it differently. But again, I'm not bashing him at all, and love my dad and appreciate what he was able to do, because I think that's the key. I mean, I think he did what he was able to do. I think he did what he knew to do. And to be quite honest, and I've told this to kids too, I think my dad probably did more for me than what his dad did for him or was able to do for him. And so although we feel like in the moment, we feel beat down, we feel like, it's not getting any better, it actually is. And with every generation. And so I'm going to be able to do more, for my kids, as long as I stay, on the right path and be intentional and learn from these things. And that's something that's key for me. I remember my grandma, my dad's mom, and she is she was a handful. Said what she meant and meant what she said, right or wrong. But I always remember talking to her or sometimes and complaining about my dad and just telling Grandma, man, Dad did this and Dad did that. And she'd tell me, hey, wait a minute, hold up. First thing she says, that's my son. You ain't gonna talk about my son like that. And then second, I'd be like, well, when I get old, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. She said, well, you be careful saying what you're not gonna do. She said, that'll be the very thing you end up doing. And she was not lying. And so, one of my struggles later in life is that I had this moment where I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, the person that my dad was and all the things that I said I didn't like about him, I ended up following in those same footsteps. And the problem is because when you have that wrong attitude and you've got that wrong mindset, you focus on the negative. And all you're doing is you're pointing the finger at that person and you're looking, well, you shouldn't do that and you shouldn't do this and this is bad and this is bad. But you don't take any time to learn, okay, then what's on the other side of that coin? Then if you don't want to follow in those footsteps, if this is wrong, then what's the opposite of that? Then what is right? And we don't spend enough time researching and searching out those things. And so you then, fall into, how you were raised in your environment and what you were brought up in, and that's your default. That's that muscle memory kind of that you have, and that's what you end up doing until hopefully you wake up and realize you're in the wrong spot, and then so you then start this journey of self-discovery to chart a new path for yourself.
Yeah, that's all I was about to say, the self-discovery, self-reflection type thing, because you think about it. I know you said your dad wasn't there for a little while, but let's say 15, 14 years of your life, if he was there, that's 14 years that you were sitting there, and that's what you saw. That's what's in your mind. That's how, you react. So if you don't have that self-reflection, you're just going to turn into it.
Absolutely. Oh, and right or wrong. I mean, right or wrong. I know my dad, if my dad wasn't there, oh man, I'd have tried to run all over my mom.
Right. Yeah.
Now, she was no pushover. She had some moments where she switch flipped in her, and she went from nice, sweet church mom, Sunday school teacher to, oh my God, I don't know what is. I'm terrified of this other person. I'm not going to cross her. But he provided all the structure, in the home, a lot of the discipline, but he kept me, on the straight and narrow. And a lot of that was, too, his message was, I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I did. And that's the right thing to say. I don't want you to go down the same path that I did. And even in the midst of some of his, darkest moments, it's like, you see what I'm doing, you're not going to do this same thing, And that's one thing that I relish about him and about his character and what he did for me, and what, as we talk about other kids, maybe what they're not getting. I mean, adults, parents, we make mistakes. We have our own issues, our demons, our habits, but we have to be telling our kids, you are going to be better than me. You're not going to make the same mistakes that I made. Instead of, I think sometimes what we have is we have adults that are looking at kids and tell them, hey, I'm not anything important. I didn't make it in life, and so you're not going to make it either. You're not going to go far. And that was not my dad at all. Man, he talked me up. I had a moment, he used to tell me when I was as a kid and, even older, he's like, man, you're going to be the first black mayor of Muncie. That's what he kept telling me. You're going to be the first black mayor of Muncie. And I'm like, Dad, whatever. And then I had a moment, I ran for city council in 2024. And so I thought, man, and I cried, and I thank God. I was like, because I didn't win. I said, but had I have won, Dad talking that up, and I could have Dad, I didn't make it, not the first black mayor of Muncie, but hey, I'm on city council, or who knows, maybe I'll be the first black mayor of Richmond. I don't know, but just in realizing, what that positivity does for the soul. And for me, I had to unlock that part of my brain. I had to unlock those memories and soak that up and close off the negative memories that tried to flood me and keep me bound up. Because that man, he spoke life to me a lot of times as well too. He used to teach me, or he used to tell me, he said, man, reach for the stars. He said, because even if you miss, he said, reach for the moon. I apologize, reach for the moon. He said, because even if you miss, you'll still be amongst the stars, And then, and crazy, I believe I heard Les Brown say the same thing. So Les Brown is a motivational speaker. And I believe he said the same thing. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. My dad said that. How did he know that? Where did he get that from? Like, he didn't make that up, himself. He had to hear that somewhere. I'll say my dad too, he used to joke and say he couldn't read or write. He said that, he didn't do well in school, wasn't very smart, this or that, the other. But my dad had a library in our house. And so, like, that was his office. We had a den, and it had a bookshelf, and he had books. Those were his books, all on the shelf. And so when I got older, I thought to myself, Dad, wait a minute, you can't read or write. What are you doing all these books? And he would sit, and he had a desk, and he would open up the Bible, and he would have the Bible there, and he would read it from time to time, and he would have highlights. And so I'm thinking, like, Dad, nah, you are more than what you think. Even for him, maybe he struggled with some self-confidence issues, have no idea. But Dad, a person that can't read or write shouldn't have a library in their house. Yeah. They shouldn't value books, but he did. And I know for me too, he created other opportunities for me where he would trade haircuts for services for me. So I remember he got me tutoring from a Ball State professor. He met him at the barbershop. Guy came in for a haircut. He starts talking to him. Guy's like, yeah, I'm a PhD, blah, 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 whatever. Dad be like, all right, my son's at home, but man, can you help him out? And I'd be, yeah. And so Dad would trade. He would give him free haircuts if the guy would come and tutor me, or would show me things like show me how to use a computer, back in the day before they were really, really hit, and then we had the tech that we have now. So those things I remember as well too, is how he did try. He did his best to give me what he could, and he used the tools at his disposal to try to make a way for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Great advice that he did give you, and lots of lessons learned for sure. So you get through high school. What's next for you?
So high school, come here to Richmond, attend Earlham College to play football. At this point in time, football was it. That's all I knew really, because I didn't lock in like I should have in school. I didn't make the worst grades, but I didn't make the best grades either. I didn't do as well as I could have. So again, I'm still in the mindset of, now I'm 18, I got to get out of the house. Man, I cannot stay in this house. I know if I stay in Muncie, even if I go to Ball State, my dad's going to try to talk me into staying at home. He's going to tell me, oh, well, you stay here. Nope, not spend another day in this house. Got to go. But at the same time, in my mind too, I thought, I want to get just far enough away that I know they're not going to try to come and see me every day, but just close enough that if I need them, I know they'll be there. And that's where I landed. And that's exactly what happened for me. And then going to El Paso, Texas, my parents made it, out there, made it to Houston. Actually, we went to a bowl game, so they made it to the Houston Bowl for me, as well too. So, but came to Earlham, played football, was recruited, had the opportunity to go to, several different schools, went to Butler's campus. I remember that trip. And checked them out. Ball State, was an option possibly as a walk-on or something like that. And so for me, I kind of, thought about it and kind of weighed my options, and it came down to, ability to play. So where can I come in and where can I play? Versus where do I come in and where do I sit, for the next, 1-2 years, and maybe hopefully play junior or senior year, something like that. And so Earlham worked out for me. Small campus, small class size, which would have been a lot better. If I'd have went to a big school, man, I'd have got lost in the numbers, and who knows if I'd have finished or not. But Earlham provided me with a lot of skills, a lot of resources, as well too. I mean, it's the reason why I came back really, and made Richmond my home, and I'm still here today, is because a lot of what I gained from my experience there.
What position were you?
Defensive tackle. So I played defensive line. So I was
about to ask it.
Yeah, I go between tackle and defensive end. I wasn't quite fast enough to be on the end, so I'd slide down. The coach put me down to tackle oftentimes, and I did well there, man. And I tell you, football. And so again, coming practice, hated practice again. Didn't like going 2-a-days, and man, just I remember too coming in. So football, you guys know, you come in earlier than everybody else. You got training camp, you got 2-a-days and all that. It's hot. There's no water on the grass. Dirt field. It's like you're playing on rocks, and the grass cuts like glass. And it's my coach, and shout out to Kevin Hanley, who was my position coach when I played at Earlham, and he's an Earlham alum. But I think he and the other coaches forgot we didn't have pads on. So we would do like pass rush drills and things like that with the offensive line with no pads. And I'm like, it's kind of funny too, because I'm like, I just laugh at myself. I'm all sensitive and like, ow, no, I don't like that. Don't pull my jersey, type of, but it's like, it's football, right? And the other guys be like, like, nah, man, back up. Like, don't touch me. Like, give me some space, But man, it was just, it was wild. But man, I was around a bunch of good guys though, good guys from all walks of life. I learned something, a little bit from everybody. One of my memories, I remember Kyle Strobel punching me in the stomach during a scrimmage, and he was a senior, I think, when I was maybe a freshman. And I remember I'm going up against him. He's offensive tackle, I believe. And I go up against him and I'm trying to block a pass. And they always tell you, don't jump. Don't jump. You just put your hands up. Well, I see the ball. I see the quarterback. He's got the ball in his hands. I'm like, I'm going to knock this down. So I jump. Kyle, man, just sticks me a good one. Man, in the stomach, doubles me over. And it was moments like that. Again, just the hardship. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the benefit of the struggle. And so at the time, I find myself kind of cowering down and kind of going inside myself and getting upset, getting emotional, sometimes wanting to quit, could give up type of thing. But luckily too, my dad never let me quit anything. I wrestled one year in middle school. It was the worst thing ever. Wrestling is the worst sport. No, I'm just kidding. I did not like it.
It's tough.
It is too much one-on-one. It's just you and that other person. And and you are as close as you ever want to be with another individual when you wrestle. And I just did not enjoy it. I'm like, at least on the line, I got 2 or 3 other people I can bump into or maybe throw you into. But my dad said, you're not quitting. You're going to finish out the season. You agreed to do this. And so you're going to go all the way with it. And so I'm like, all right, cool. So I did that, so I never, although I struggled a lot of times emotionally, mentally, I never had that give up. I never had that quit. I never had that I'm just going to throw in the towel. It's like, man, I take a minute, kind of go inside myself, have my little moment. And it's like, all right, come back. Okay, let's try it again. How do we do this? Football was tough. Earlham, they've closed up their program since. We had a lot of losing seasons, unfortunately. Sophomore year, though, we had a great winning season. We went 6-4. I think that was the last winning season that we had. And what I learned from that, and just how we did that was we stayed at school over the summer. We stayed together. We worked out together. And we came in that next year and we were the strongest, and the most together that we had ever been. Man, if we could have just, stuck with that and duplicated that for the next, 2 more years, it would have been an awesome ride.
Yeah, I don't think, I may be a little biased, but I don't think there's any better sport out there where you can learn more about sacrifice, about camaraderie, about trusting your teammates. I'm like you. There's many guys I played with high school and college, that I may not have talked to in 15 or 20 years, but I could make a phone call tomorrow and we'd pick up right where we left off.
Almost definitely.
And it's through the blood, sweat, and tears.
Oh yeah.
The 2-a-days of. I similar to you as you're talking about your experience in college, especially with me be in the same position. So when I was at Dayton, we played on the old AstroTurf at Welcome Stadium. We were on the old AstroTurf, but my freshman year, they just replaced the old turf, which was like matted carpet with new AstroTurf, not field turf, AstroTurf. And it was like needles.
Yeah. And
so it was so sharp that you would take a knee at the end of practice and you'd get up and your knee was bleeding. That's how sharp it was. So you can imagine what it did to your skin as you skidded across it. So I don't think there's any better sport out there, tougher. Wrestling is very difficult. I did it 1 year as well and I wanted to quit. My dad would not let me. It was too much close quarters with another man who was trying to choke me out and get me in positions I didn't know I could go in. But what an amazing sport. What amazing life lessons that I learned. It sounds like you did too.
Yeah, most definitely. One of the biggest things for me, my senior year at Earlham, and it took me a while to get there, but it was my senior year. It might be going into my out of my junior into my senior. But anyway, it was this thought. I just had this revelation one day, and I'm like, man, what am I out here doing? Like, I've been playing this game, ever since I've been in middle school, and I've been playing for my dad. I've been hating every minute of it. Like, what if I go out here and give it my all? What if I go out here and just, forget about all the outside noise and I just do the very best I can? What if I just lock in and what then? And a switch, flipped for me, and I had a great season in what I enjoyed, I started to enjoy the struggle. I started to enjoy practice. I started to enjoy getting beat up and jumping back up again and getting back out there and realizing that I'm learning something every time I fail or I miss a tackle or I get blocked by the offensive lineman. Like, I'm learning and I'm calculating. I'm like, okay, next time I'm coming back, and I'm coming back harder and I'm doing it differently. I remember, and thinking like, what can I actually do to be successful? And one of the things that I said is I'm running from sideline to sideline. I don't care what the play is. I'm running all over this field. And I thought to myself, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Truly, what's the worst thing that could happen? And I'm like, oh my God, I could die. And I'm like, how cool would that be to die on the football field? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because then, like, there would be no doubt that this guy gave everything he had to the sport. He gave everything he had in this game. And that's how I wanted to feel, and that's what I wanted to do. And so I went out and did that. And it was such that I remember my middle linebacker, Rodney Gunn, best friend, to this day, man, he would be right behind me. Ball would snap. We go in. And sometimes I would get there first. Sometimes he would get there first. And it was funny because so it's my dad and my uncle. They would tell this story. My uncle was the outside linebacker. My dad was the middle linebacker. And my dad would say, my uncle was faster. And so he would tell my uncle, he's like, hey, Harv, you go get him. You go chase him down, you catch him, but you hold him up for me. And my dad would come clean him up. And these two guys, they get together, they love telling that. And that's exactly how I was with Rodney. I tell Rodney, go get him, man, hold him up. I tell everybody, hold him up. I remember running sometimes and I'd see hold him up, don't take him down, I'm coming, And I'd come and clean, and man, to the point that we get back to the huddle and Rodney would look at me and say, hey man, if you hit me in my back one more time, he'd be like, why every time I get up off the pile, why are you on top of me? I'm like, man, I have no idea. I'm coming. Like I just said, I'm not going to be putting in all this effort anymore for nothing. Like, I'm going to put in some work. I'm going to get some stats, and I didn't even count the stats. I can't remember scores. I don't remember necessarily wins or losses or anything like that. I don't remember personal stats, but I do remember when I was in the game. I was in the play. I'm getting in that play. That's what I wanted. And I realized the benefits of this. And so after I graduate, I coached for a little bit. I coached at Earlham. I coached at UTEP as a graduate assistant. And I remember coaching at Earlham one time. I don't remember the game, don't remember the coach, but I remember after a game, I'm on the field and we're shaking hands with the other team. And I go over to shake a coach's hand, and the coach stops me and says, man, you Rhinehart? And I said, yeah. And he said, man, man, I remember, he said, we had to plan our offense around you when we played you when you played. He was like, man, you were tough. He's like, we had to work our offense around you, the nose tackle, and I was, man, and in the moment, like thinking back, like I don't think I realized the gravity of that moment, like what that really meant. But I was like, man, like that's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I think, for me, I think the rest of life, kind of for me is understanding and learning, having these moments and learning from the hard times and then relishing and taking pride in these moments where, somebody acknowledges you and says, hey, you did good. Hey, you're having an impact out here. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, what a great feeling. And do you ever regret that switch didn't happen earlier?
Oh, most definitely. Definitely. I look at a lot of things, several things I've done, whether it be playing an instrument, whether it be my studies, whether it football. Yeah, if I would have locked in, if I would have known sooner and would locked in sooner, I could have gone so much further. Going to UTEP, University of Texas, El Paso, I remember walking in there as a grad assistant. I'm 22, I think, years old, a year out of college, because I graduated 2003. I stayed and coached football for that season, that 2003-04 season. And then the head coach, Lawrence Livingston, that we had at Earlham, he coached with Mike Price in previous years and played for him in previous years. And so when Mike Price got the job at UTEP, Lawrence went and followed him. He got the call. So he went to be the assistant head coach, offensive line coach. And then he calls me and says, hey, do you want a coaching opportunity? I'm like, sure. And they put me on a plane and fly me out. I get there and I remember walking around the stadium in the complex there, and some of the players, you know, when they realized that I was a coach, I was a graduate assistant, they was like, oh man. It's like, man, we thought you were a player. We thought you was coming for our position or something like that. And I was like, wow, like that's pretty cool to think, because I'm looking at these guys and I'm looking at this facility and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, am I in the pros? Like Division I football, Division I sports is nuts. And I mean, and you know, it was just amazing to see. And these guys and their stature, I was just, I was like, man, I was really taken back by it. But you know, but I felt, you know, really respected. And I thought too, again, you know, if I had put in the effort, if that switch had flipped sooner, you know, I could have went a lot farther with it. But God's got a plan though, you know, and God will work it out, you know, for our good, you know. So missed an opportunity there, but I'm happy, you know, where I am now, and I'm loving life, and the benefits now is that I'm opening up my eyes more to seeing, you know, God working, and that's where I want to be.
Well, and there's a reason that switch didn't get flipped until you're going into your senior year. You know, now, you know, you're more mature and you recognize that everything that you do, whether it's from raising your family or working or giving back, all the things that you're doing, you know, you're going to give it max effort. You're going to be the best you can be. Oh yeah, definitely. And two, I think as you're saying that, I'm thinking like, yeah, because I could have been more successful then. And then I would have taken all the credit for myself, or I would have ran off and thought, oh, look what I did. Okay. And I would have been selfish with money or with opportunities or with whatever, and not have given back. And so much of what I've done in my adult life and what I am going to continue to do is about service, is about serving others and giving, you know, to others, and to stay humble. Is where I want to be. And so I know, you know, that, you know, God looked at me probably at one point and said, man, I can't bless you with this money or with this right now, because you're not ready. You're not in the right mindset. You take this money and squander it, you'd run off and you'd forget all about me. And I need you to lock in. I need you to devote yourself, you know, to me. And that's where I'm at. Absolutely. Yeah. So your UTEP life's pretty good, enjoying life. Yeah, man, UTEP was hard, and not UTEP itself, but I was young, I was immature, I didn't know what I was doing. I was a fish out of water. I was far from home, had never been that far. I never left home really before ever. I went to Philadelphia for a semester in college, but I went with two other football players. And so to be out in El Paso, you know, kind of on my own, I had my coach, Livingston, but he had a family, his wife and kids, and I probably could have leaned into them more, and I know they would have opened up their doors to me and would have brought me in. But, you know, at the same time, I'm like, but I'm grown, and I want to kind of live my own life and do my own thing and have fun and see some things. And so I got into some things I shouldn't have gotten into, and created some habits for myself that I shouldn't have done, and ended up leaving after a season. I realized football is not where I wanted to be. Division I sports is a lot of work. Sports in general is a lot of work, but D1, nuts. I mean, just the work ethic that these coaches have, and the time and the effort and the energy that they put in, and then the uncertainty as well too. And what I saw is, you know, if your head coach loses a job, you know, potentially the whole coaching staff, you know, gets shaken up and may have to go as well too. And I'm like, I don't like the uncertainty of that, and having to move. So after a year, after that first season, I left, but I got to enjoy a bowl game. I got to meet a lot of great players, several of them who went on to play in the NFL. And it's kind of cool to be able to watch Quentin Demps, you know, play for the New England Patriots, and see him and I'm like, wait a minute, watching TV, I know him. Like, that's Demps. You know, man, that's to have those moments. I got a bowl ring, you know, went to the Houston Bowl. Parents came up and saw that game, and good memories, you know, from that. But I knew if I didn't get out of El Paso, I was gonna die. Just some dumb stuff that I was doing, making poor choices, crossing the border into Mexico, and you know what is, and not where I should have been. So. Sure. So you're mature enough to recognize, all right, I need to make change in my life. Oh, definitely. So where'd you go? Came back to Richmond. So I said, well, you know, again, didn't want to go home to Muncie, just because I didn't want to go to the house.
But I thought, so where can I go? I've been raised to, value relationships and people and connections. And so I went back where I felt connected. I went back to where I had people, and that was here in Richmond. Benita Washington Lacey, longtime employee of Earlham College, mentor, second, mother, just a caretaker of everybody on campus that she comes into contact with, was somebody that I was have a close relationship with, and knew I could come and talk with her, learn from her. Kevin Hanley, my former football coach, mentor as well too, was here, and I'm like, okay, Kevin. I can talk to them. I can ask them about jobs. They can help connect me with the right people, so on and so forth. And so, did that. So came back here and ended up landing a job at the state hospital, actually. So I started with the summer position, working with youth at the state hospital, doing recreation. Patrick Piper, another football coach, great guy, mentor, was working out there at the time, and he was able to get me on in a summer position, which then turned into a full-time position, which then turned into, I think, I was there for like 5 years and left in a supervisory position when I left that job.
So what were you doing specifically at the state hospital working with youth?
So state hospital was a residential facility. It is a residential facility. At the time, they had kids, adolescent males on their campus. And so I would, when I was in the rec position, I would just prepare like recreational activities for them. So I'd take them out, a group of them. We'd go to the playground. We'd play kickball. Maybe we'd take them on trips, out into the community, to the parks or the pool or something like that, and do different things. And then it grew into, kind of direct care staff. So hands-on, caring, for them on the day-to-day, making sure they get to school, making sure they get meals, breaking up fights, kind of keep them in the building, chasing them down if they run away, those kind of things. And then again, like I said, landing in a supervisory position where I finished up. So then at that point, I'm overseeing the direct care staff, in the operation of the unit. So making sure that, services are being offered, kids are getting what they need, staff is getting what they need, and they're understanding, their responsibilities, creating schedules, programming, writing curriculum, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So giving back to troubled kids, basically.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that was something that was real big and early on, again, instilled in me, and something that I wanted to do, even as an Earlham student. Me and the guys, we formed a group called Black Men United. And part of that was to, break down the stigma of Black men in the community. And so we wanted to show young Black men doing something positive. And so things that we would do, we had a field day where we brought kids from like Townsend Boys and Girls Club, onto Earlham's campus. We, had a cookout for them, played football, ran around, that kind of thing, just they could see us in a different light, and we show them the campus and show them that somebody cares, a little bit. And so there was always that element of, wanting to give back. And when I saw the kids at the state hospital, it was about, wanting to, be for them what I didn't have, coming up, but then also wanting to provide them with what I did have, coming up. And that was, a positive individual, saying, uplifting things, to me when I was younger. And these kids, a lot of them didn't have. And I looked at them and their situations, and, they have traumatic backgrounds. They dealt with parents that, were addicted to drugs, and they suffered abuse. And so similar stories, maybe not the same, but some similarities there. And I'm looking like, man, this could have been me. If the tables, were turned, if things would have worked out differently, I could have been one of these kids, in these rooms versus, being where I was.
So that foundation, now you're continuing to build to help the community, to help the youth. What's after State Hospital?
State Hospital, where did I go? Left State Hospital, got into banking for a little bit, worked for Chase Bank here in town, did some insurance sales as well too. So got to learn that. For me, it was about, working with youth and young people. I enjoy that. But at the same time, I've got this degree in business and nonprofit management. So let's go see the business side of things and how that works. And so the bank opened up, that door for me. So I got to experience that. And then for me, it's kind of been this teeter-totter between the two, kind of career paths, because I keep getting drawn back to youth and working with them and giving back and trying to help raise up the next generation. just because I understand, just how crucial it is. I mean, these kids are going to be caring for me, when I'm old. And so, hey, I want them to be productive, citizens and focused and hardworking and driven. So that way, hey, when I need the care, you're in the right position, to take care of me, but more so for them because they deserve it. Right. I mean, they deserve that opportunity. And I realize, too, the power of opportunities, what opportunities can do, how it can open up doors, how it can help change our mindset. And again, I want to be a part of, all of that, for them.
Yeah, that's amazing. So at some point in time throughout your career, you decide to give back even more and start some specific programs, right? Mm-hmm. Can you kind of talk about some of those? Yeah,
so started Future Achievers, which is a nonprofit that works with teens, high school students primarily in the community. That was about... Well, at the time I was and I think that was about 2012, and I was in a leadership program. And Future Achievers was basically our final project. And there were three of us, myself, Erica Butler, who is the wife of my best friend, Monton Butler, football player. We were in the program together. And then Rachel Ulrich, who at the time was a high school student and was in this program with a bunch of adults, right? And so we formed a group and we had this idea to create a program that's going to teach skills to high school students. And we thought about, like, what are those skills that were lacking that we didn't get when we were in high school? What is the things that we wish we had known that we didn't? And, financial literacy and issues with money was a big one. And so that's where we started. And we partnered with Townsend Community Center, got a grant from the Stam Coachline Family Foundation to be able to offer this program to youth. And that was the start, the launch. We probably had upwards of 10 students participate in that program. It went really well. And then it was, for me, it was like, okay, man, I got a taste of this. I really like this. I think we can do more. What else can we do? How can we formalize things and create our own organization to where we can have more control of what we're doing and really grow this? And so that's the path I took and grow to where we are now.
Yeah. So where are you now?
So now we are actually right now. So we're doing some rebuilding, kind of coming back. We've had a couple resurgence. 2019 was one of those. And now in a phase where I feel like I've done, probably a 10 plus year kind of market study of where we are and some strategic planning. And now it's about growing this organization to the point that it's sustainable and it's here to be able to serve the youth for, way beyond my years. And so with me too, kind of getting into different areas, and I'm teaching now full time. And so it's kind of challenging to do the work full time. It's been me, for a lot of it, as I've developed programs, and then a part of developing the program was me actually running the program and trying it out and then tweaking it, as I'm learning. And so now I feel like we have some good things together that it's time to scale this, get some other folks involved, put these programs out there and let this grow and flourish and to really get out and help these kids.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned briefly there you're teaching now. So you're teaching at Richmond High School?
Yes. Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit, because that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, man. Teaching at Richmond High School. This is my first year as a teacher. So looking forward to the summer and then getting back into the classroom and working with these teens again. But this was a long time, coming. And I feel like for me too, man, God's just been showing me so much, like just about paying dues. One thing I didn't want to do, right? Coming up as being a youngster, and you got to pay your dues. You got to start at the bottom and you got to work your way up. You got to prove yourself. And I didn't want to do that, early on. But the high school, I feel like I've worked with several of these folks, several of the administrators at the high school and teachers over a number of years. And they've seen the work that I've done, and Future Achievers was in Richmond High School as well too. And so we were providing mentoring services to the high school students there. And so it was really as far as getting in, it was really a seamless transition. Almost, it's like it was, hey, we've seen your work ethic, we've seen your care for youth, and what you're capable of doing, relationship building. We want you, in the classroom. And so that was great, a great feeling to be able to do that. Being with these teens all day for 6 periods, man. Different. I remember my first weekend there, and I thought to myself, oh shoot, like what did I get myself into? Like I was already in the school and mentoring students, right? But I'd pull them out of class, I'd keep them for 30 minutes tops and then go put them back. Like we'd have a strong 30-minute conversation, I'd send them back. Like that was cake. Then I looked around the room and I almost thought like I was locked up or something. I'm like, I can't get out of this place. I can't leave the building if I want. I got another period. I can't just walk out and just go get something to eat or go whatever, that I was used to doing. And so that was a shock, for me. But the students are great. And they've taught me a lot. And I'm grateful that I've been open, I believe, to their educating me, letting me know where I'm making mistakes and what I can do better. And that's fuel for me just to come back and knock it out of the park because, again, to have that impact is what I want. And so I was blessed to have a couple students, didn't have to. They wrote me notes or would send me an email. Hey, Mr. Rhinehart, I really appreciate, what you've done for me, or appreciate, what you did. You're a great teacher, kind of thing really made me feel good. One moment that I had was one of the things that God gave me was to celebrate birthdays in class. And so I'm not typically high energy, fun type of person. When I worked in behavioral health, I would tell the kids that I worked with, like, I'm not the fun counselor. I'm not the fun staff member. Like, that's not why they put you with me. All right. I'm here to get work done. We're going to get the job done and let's move on. But now I'm realizing in order to educate, in order to really shape, help shape these kids, you got to be a little more lively. You got to be a little more fun and easygoing. And so one of the things that we did was we celebrated birthdays. And so it's cool because when we do attendance, when it comes up on the computer, it shows like a little birthday cake. So, you click on it, you see when their birthday is. And so as I'm going through, I click on a cake and I'm like, oh shoot, wait a minute, a second, that's today. Oh, that's your birthday. It's your birthday. And so I would make this big to do about it. The whole class, I'd ask them to sing. I would sing happy birthday to the student. And then I had some snacks that I would store up and I would let them pick a snack that would be their birthday present, right? Not all the kids liked it. Some kids really hated it and tried to hide underneath the table. But I had a student, who told me that they really appreciated that and what that meant for them to be recognized. Like, even though that they were shy and it looked like they didn't enjoy it, like deep down they did, and it really makes you wonder, like, you don't know who gets, a birthday celebrated around here and who doesn't, and that's one of the things that I learned about these kids too. Like, I've got a new respect and appreciation for them because some of their background, where they're coming from. I mean, I had to learn over the years working with students, like, man, we got to calm down a little bit, just be happy that kid came to school. All right. If you knew what this child had to go through to even walk through the door today, you would cut them a little bit of slack. You would give them a little bit of grace. And so, I'm reminded, of that. And so to be able to do that for that student, and again, for it to impact them in a positive way, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's pretty awesome. I mean, a lot of times it's just those little things, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it can be a recognition of a birthday that they may not have been recognized for their birthday for years, even from their family. I mean, you just don't know, right? No. You don't know those stories. You don't know what those kids are going through. So there's no doubt, I'm sure you're having a major impact on that school, and that's pretty awesome.
By the grace of God, I'm trying. That's it. I'm just trying to be obedient and go where he leads me. So
you're doing good. All right, we're going to finish this with 2 questions. If you could sit on a park bench and have a conversation with someone living or deceased, who would it be and why?
Man, I wasn't ready for that one, and I've seen that in the other episodes. But first thought that comes to my mind, man, and it would. First thing that came to mind was my dad. He passed away in 2019, and in a house fire, actually, the house I grew up in, and I've talked about grace. I've mentioned that a few times, and that's so important to me. And again, that's the takeaway. If there's one, that would be it. It is grace, and I believe my dad taught me that through his passing. I struggled at first, with it early on. Again, I told you some of the bad side, some of the good side. And then when he died, I reflected a lot on the bad stuff and was trying to hold him accountable or judge him, for that. And I really believe that, God told me in that moment again, like, hey, you're not perfect either. Hey, wait a minute. You've made the same mistakes that he has made. It was also in that moment. So 2019, here I am, in Richmond, been working, Future Achievers, done all these things. People know me in the community. People are speaking highly of me. And I believe God said to me as well, too, like, man, how dare you make these mistakes that you've made? And people still think highly of you. People still regard you, with respect and speak to you kindly and offer positions to you and offer you to sit at tables and want to hear from you. They feel like you have something to say. How dare you take all of that, right? But then not extend that same grace over to somebody else. You think those people don't know who you are or what you did, and if they don't, it's only because of God's grace that didn't come up and become an issue, and that God was able to allow me to flourish and to thrive and to move forward. And so it was, you got to extend that same grace to your father as well, too. Again, understanding that, hey, maybe he didn't grow up with some of these things, that he lacked to pass on and to share. Maybe he didn't, recover from some of the trauma that he experienced, throughout childhood, but then on later, into life, as well too. And how it happened too for me was, it was looking at how he died, right? It was what started to unpack it for me. So he died in a house fire. He was a smoker, lifelong smoker. And we think it started from a cigarette that he had dropped, on the carpet. But little things, hearing from the investigator and seeing in things like, man, it just, God's hand at work. I just kept seeing it over and over. Like that's God who kept him, who even in death, who protected him and was there with him, in that moment. And that's the thing. And it's like, God, you were with him and I thought he was so bad. It's like, yeah, I was with him and I'm with you, as well too. And so, if I can love him, you can too. If I can forgive him, you can too. And I would say too, forgiveness and grace is so important, because this is something that I think hurts a lot of relationships and hurts a lot of families. We talk a lot about kids here today, and we can talk about adults. A lot of these adults out here walking around are little kids at heart, right? They've never grown up. They're 8 and 9 and 12, and they're still stuck in that space because they've never healed from that. And what we do, unfortunately, is we start to point the finger and we judge and we blame and we accuse, and then we destroy relationships by that. And then once we destroy relationships, well, then now we don't have anybody to turn to. We don't have a support. We don't have people in our corner who, although, yes, they made mistakes, but they were my biggest cheerleader as well, too. My dad was my biggest cheerleader. I mean, my dad went to every home football game. How many kids can say that their dad went to every football game, every home football game. My dad went to every home college football game. I mean, he came to Richmond every Saturday. My dad was a barber. His money-making day was Saturday. And he would tell the guys at work, he would say, hey, come Saturday, hey, Ryan, my son's playing. I'm working half a day. I got to get to this game. You know what I'm saying? So even in the midst of making mistakes, he was doing the right thing. And he had, he had me in my best interest, on his mind as well, too. And if we're not careful, we can get so jaded by the mistakes that people have made that we totally dismiss them. We totally write them off. And there's so much that we can learn from them. There's so much we can gain from that relationship. There's so much that I learned, from my dad, and so for me, yeah, I think it would be just to sit and talk with him and to tell him how much I've learned, and to have conversations about, how we've grown. And yeah.
You started off the podcast kind of talking about how difficult it was growing up and some of the struggles, the addictions and domestic violence and things that you saw as a kid. And I didn't know where you were going to go with that with your dad, and I don't know that you even meant this, but I think what's came out from hearing your story is this is a testament to your dad. Mm. I think what you maybe you did it knowingly, maybe you didn't, but you went from where I didn't know where your story was going to go, but I knew where I thought it was going, and it went the complete opposite way. That's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty awesome. It's a testament to you, a testament to your dad, even through all his struggles. And I hope somebody out there hears that, because, when you hold grudges, when you hold ill will towards people because of something they did to you or to someone the only person that's hurting is you.
Yeah.
And you're the one that holds that resentment, right? So to let that go and to see the emotion on your face, it's amazing. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty powerful. Last question.
Yep.
Is there a quote, Bible verse, something out there when you're in a dark spot or when things are tough that you lean on and you say, hey, this is what gets me through?
Oh man, got a whole sheet of them. got a whole sheet of them. Man, I'll tell you, y'all try to run through Psalms 91, and it's a good deal of information. But Psalms 91 is our family psalm. My grandmother, that was her scripture, and just how I believe, as I was kind of thinking through coming in and kind of looking back over my life, how Psalm 91 and her prayers carried me, as a youngster and coming up and protected us even through the hard stuff, right? And God never promised us an easy life. The opposite, man's days are going to be short and full of trouble. So we're going to have issues, but we're going to come out, on the other side. We're going to come out all right. It's going to work out, for our good. But as an adult, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, and trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. There was a time for me in my life where I looked back and I thought, man, I'm not going the right way. I've got to change this up. I've got to do better. I know there's more out here for me. I'm destined for greatness, and that's what I want. I want everything God has for me. And Proverbs 3:5 came to me. And so that was the turning point. And so that's why I fall back to is trusting in God with all my heart and not leaning into my own understanding and realizing, God, I messed this all up. I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I'm giving it all to you. I got to acknowledge you. And I appreciate this opportunity to be here with you all today to do just that. And I pray that I did that. To speak the name of Jesus on this podcast and let people know what this is all about and where this really comes from, so that he will continue to direct my path so that I can serve him. So
it's awesome, man. How can people connect with you at social media? if somebody just wants to reach out and say thank you, how can they connect with you?
Oh man, I'm everywhere. I'm social media. My phone number is out there, but I'll throw it out, 765-313-9670. I did that one time. Somebody's like, you really want to give out your phone number? Sure.
That's what I was just thinking.
It's all good. Hit me up. Shoot me a text message. But yeah, I'm on social media, just Carl Rhinehart. My face is out there, Instagram, everywhere. Future Achievers is out there as well too. And so if anybody wants to collaborate, got any ideas on how we can better help these teens out here, parents, if they want to get, kiddos involved, need a mentor. One of the big things too is I'm always on the hunt for entrepreneurs and business leaders and professionals because I think it's important. And I've told this to my high school students this year. It's important for them to get out and have conversations. Again, I know the power of opportunities, and I came up, I don't know what I don't know, right? And so, but how we can change things and how I can change things is if I can create an opportunity for a young person to be able to sit down with somebody that is in the position that they're interested in, and they can have a conversation just simply, hey, what time do you have to wake up to get to work? Do you like your job? Tell me about the best day and the worst day, kind of thing. How much money do you make? That information will help these young people so much, start to believe in themselves and to believe in the opportunities in the future and start to chart their path with more knowledge and understanding, especially more than what I had, going into it. And so you got a lot that are afraid of college debt and things like that and making the wrong decision. Well, the only way that you mitigate that is with knowledge. And so, so again, providing opportunities for young people to be able to get that. And out there, a lot of projects going on. The Warming Center is out. And so we've got a Facebook page for the Emergency Warming Center. And so although I want to enjoy summer and hopes it stays around for about 12 months, it's not going to.
That's right.
So winter's coming back. So if anybody wants to volunteer and get involved there, hit me up. We'll plug you in. But yeah.
It's awesome, man. Great story. Very powerful. I thank you again for coming in.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the work you guys are doing. Again, this is awesome. This is awesome. And I tell you, just to be surrounded by people of such great faith. I mean, and as a man, we don't get this oftentimes to be able to sit with other men. And if folks, I would encourage people, get on here, watch the podcast, and you're going to see guys break down. I was talking to Brian about, is it Sean?
Yeah.
Oh man, Sean, that guy's awesome.
Yeah.
That guy's awesome. And he is, and you can see God's hand on him and how God is shaping him and changing and molding him. And it's just amazing and inspiring to watch. And so please, check out the BeTempered Podcast. This is amazing work you guys are doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it for sure. All right, everybody, share, like, do all those things because somebody out there needs to hear this story.
Absolutely.
Go out and be tempered.
Hi, my name is Allie Schmidt. This is my dad, Dan. He owns Catron's Glass.
Thanks, Allie. Things like doors and windows go into making a house, but when it's your home, you expect more, like the great service and selection you'll get from Catron's Glass. Vinyl replacement windows from Catron's come with a lifetime warranty, including accidental glass breakage replacement. Also ask for custom shower doors and many other products and services. Call 962-1636, locally owned with local employees for nearly 30 years.
Catron's Glass, the clear choice.